This puking statue may make you sick, but you need to look at it. So this is, let's take a look at the statue and then I'll give you details about it, okay? So this is a statue of a bird puking plastic. Sad. So according to Huffington Post, the famed marine sculptor Jason de Caris Taylor created this figure as part of a larger installation meant to convey a sense of urgency about the amount of plastic debris in the world's oceans. So Taylor partnered with the Greenpeace nonprofit Greenpeace, and it wasn't only this statue. Do you have other ones too? Okay, so there was more. Here's a family at the beach. You see that there's puke from, I guess, from the other birds, and 1, 2, 3 puke piles. Really sad. Also, according to the Huffington Post, each year 8 million tons of plastic wind up in the ocean. By 2050, we'll have more plastic than fish in our waters. Now, the full work is called Plasticide. It sits outside of the Royal National Theatre. And according to the artist, he did release this statement. He says, quote, "The buildup of a man-made material like plastic in the vast expanse of our seemingly untouched oceans is a visceral reminder of humankind's devastating impact on our environment. I want to bring this message back to home. Our oceans and the marine life which inhabits them literally can't stomach any more plastic." And then also Greenpeace, they chimed in. They talked about how what they want from, because a lot of this comes from beverage companies. So they want these beverage companies to not only, they like the idea of recycling, but not everybody's gonna go recycle their beverage. So they want the beverage companies to manufacture bottles made entirely from recycled plastic. They say, quote, "This will help reduce the amount of wasted materials entering the oceans and cut down on the amount of entirely new bottles being produced." Thoughts, 5 words or less?
A bird named Ralph.
A sea of change.
This plastic is explosive.
Makes me sick. It's sad. That's really sad to think that they also, another statistic that 90% of seabirds have plastic in their stomachs.
Yeah, it's crazy. Whenever you see, like, they'll show you what they pulled out of a shark or from the inside of fish, they'll just show that it's plastic wrappers. And I see it at the beach all the time.
Yeah.
It gets washed up and you see the seagulls go over, and even if it's people's picnics, they'll go and they'll grab a bag of Doritos and just start trying to eat it.
And some people pack your trash, like pack your trash, because some people just leave it.
On the real.
Like they just leave it there, and it's so sad. And it's so sad too, because not only to think that in 2050 that there'll be more plastic in the oceans than fish, I mean, that also has a lot to do with the overfishing and climate change, but you can imagine how what all the plastic in the ocean would impact all the other ecosystems. And if you have less fish, that impacts the other ecosystems as well.
Geologically, they're classifying this age differently because our use of plastic and other man-made materials have changed the layer of the earth we're on now. So when you look below it, they'll say like, oh, this was this age, the Mesozoic, whatever. And then they'll go, this top one is so chemically different from the others that it has been classified as its own age. We've already done it.
Wow.
I think it's great that the artist is, we always talk about celebrities and artists using their reach to send a positive message, to bring awareness. I think this is great. This guy is very celebrated. He's very celebrated by National Geographic.
You're right.
He has a strong affinity for marine life, marine culture. I mean, he created the largest underwater installation. I think it's called La Evolución Silenciosa.
Oh, wow.
Means the silent evolution. So I mean, this guy is awesome. And again, it's awesome to see people using their art, like the same way with the Kanye installation, about him being the gold Jesus. We thought it was going to be about Kanye is so wonderful, but actually it was, bringing awareness to how we put these celebrities as gods or humans. Same thing with this. So I think this is fantastic. Jason de Caris Taylor is his name. Google him, look at his stuff. It's phenomenal. And again, he's very celebrated by National Geographic. And if you're celebrated by National Geographic, you're doing something right.
Look at that visual. That visual just spawned this whole conversation.
If the visual sits with you the wrong way, if you were maybe one of the people that saw it and it makes you ill, then just know that there are things you can do on a micro level to combat what this art installation is talking about. And there are really practical things that you can do. I mean, as simple as like you were saying, pack your trash, to make sure that we take care of the planet that we're on right now. And I think that if an art piece is raising awareness for that, then that's amazing. But also, it's a little disappointing that sometimes we need an art piece to realize that we are damaging the environment. And I think actually marine life suffers a lot because they're we don't see fish often, and we just don't see, we don't see reefs, and we don't see, these aren't animals that we're very familiar with, and so they sort of become these silent sufferers. And you can't, you can look at a dog and that makes you compassionate, for, at least for me, for like a cow, because they're mammals and I get it, but sometimes it's easier to overlook our aquatic friends on this earth, and I think that we should just all be more aware of what we can do.
Yes.
And I think bringing up overfishing too is important, because there's way more factors than just people throwing bottles into the ocean. That is a problem too, but just educate yourself, because we can combat ignorance and we can combat this new chemical layer on our planet. That's such a good point, Brett. It's fucked up. We can do all this, but you have to combat your own ignorance with education. So if this promotes education, great.
All right, you guys, so please keep the conversation going, and please give us some examples of some of the things that you guys do. I would love to adopt what you're doing as well. Spread that information, and what organizations do you love? Because the more that we can talk about it and push this conversation forward, the more we learn, the more we can be of help. And we'll see you next time on Pop Trigger.